call me Crazy Joe, but now they can call me Batman.
What up? Welcome back to the Necro Zoo. I am Bones, and in this one, we're gonna go ahead and add one more figure to my McFarlane DC Multiverse collection. Now we are gonna keep going in the Blackest Night Atrocitus wave. We already had a look at Kyle Rayner, the Green Lantern, and now we are going to take a look at Deathstorm. Now, of course, this character is an offshoot from Firestorm, the original classic character, but of course, this is Ronnie during the whole Blackest Night resurrected from the dead thing, and he is actually chosen as one of the leaders of the whole dead army and stuff for Necron. When I did see that this one was going to be made and released, I was pretty stoked because of course I do love me some skulls and death. I'm all about that. So was really interested to check this guy out and get one step closer to building Atrocitus. Now he does look pretty rigor mortis in the packaging, but let's go ahead and take a closer look at it. But first, he does come with your standard black DC Multiverse stand. Not really needed, but sometimes useful. He also comes with his data file card. On the front, you do have some source material from the comics there. A little bit different uniform. I don't think this is necessarily this version of the character, but pretty cool anyways. And in the back, you do have some information. Added to the collection. He does come with an accessory, which is his silver lantern. Pretty nice. Glad to be getting a lot of lanterns in the collection. Really happy to see that. Pretty cool. And then he does come with parts for Atrocitus. He does come with like the shoulder guards. Pretty nice sculpt work. I love the red color that they used. A little bit soft, but of course since it goes on his shoulders and you still want him to articulate, that's probably the reason. And he also comes with his head. Now this is a awesome head sculpt. Just by looking at this head gets me that much more excited to actually build the Atrocitus. Pretty cool. I mean, just look at that, snarling head sculpt. Pretty awesome. We'll get to that. But let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. Now, first impressions. Don't really get a lot of renditions of Deathstorm in figure form. I know DC Direct did do some, but pretty awesome that we have one from McFarlane. He looks pretty good. Now, I'm pretty sure this is going to be an amalgamy of different Deathstorms. I think there have been like a couple of different versions, and this probably takes parts from different ones. McFarlane, he picks and chooses what he thinks looks cool and then puts it on the figure. A couple of things I noticed right away that I do not like or that I just feel like I want to change with some repaint. But all in all, for what it is, he does look really, really good. So happy about that. Pretty good first impressions just off the bat. Let's take a look at the head. Now, first thing, one negative that I do want to say is his head is really low. Once again, that we got that problem where the head sits really low on the body and it just makes him look like scrunched down. If you look at a lot of images from the comics, you'll actually see that his head is like really high on his neck, which kind of shows it like his traps and all that. And it's more because of his body is kind of, degenerated and all that because he's deceased. But when it comes to the figure, it's just sitting really low, and you could tell, like I could tell right away that the height is just not exactly right. So I'm going to look into fixing that as well. But for the head sculpt, looks cool. You got your classic skull face with flaming hair. It is in a translucent purple, so I wonder why they couldn't give Booster Gold his transparent glasses, but that's fine. Don't see too much transparent plastic flame heads, so really awesome to see that. All in all, pretty nice head sculpt for Deathstorm. Now let's take a look at the articulation. He does look down. He looks up more than usual, but it's still not really a lot of range, and it's a little bit stiff. He does have right to left, and then you can cock his head for some attitude. So for your standard retail McFarlane release, this is pretty good articulation, but I just want to take it to the next level, so I'll be adjusting that here in a bit. Going down to the chest, you have the emblem. Now this is reminiscent of the old school classic Firestorm costume. That's where you could see that circle with the rays on it, but now of course it's turned into a black lantern, black ring symbol. One thing that is wrong is that the part that goes around the circle where the triangle is in the middle, it's actually supposed to be silver. That's, in all the images, and for some reason they just left it out here, here it's all blue, like that baby blue that they used. So we'll be hitting that as well. But it does mold itself really nice to his body, to the shape, and I do love the sculpt work that is done on that chest emblem. Going down into that classic Black Lantern leg costume lines, that's usually what the Black Lanterns have, is like this like triangle with a dot in the middle, and then around the legs, that's just your standard Black Lantern costume. But they sculpted it out really nice. It lines up really good. Let's check out the articulation at the waist. He does have side to side, full range of motion at the waist, lower waist swivel, upper chest swivel, and you can twist them, put them in some cool poses. Now he does have a slight bit of crunch, more than usual, and he can lean back for some awesome flying poses. Looks really good there. Let's take a look at the shoulders. Underneath this like shoulder pauldron, he does have the McFarlane butterfly joint with the ring bushing in there. You do get up and down, front to back, a lot of range, bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that look really good, sculpted out really nicely, and then you go down from the shoulders through like the upper arm is actually supposed to be like cloth. It's supposed to be like from his old costume in this form actually, so that's why it doesn't look like skin or like regular muscle, because it has like folds and wrinkles in it, because it's actually supposed to be a different cloth. So that's another detail that I did see. You got some cool gauntlets that are in a kind of gray, but like a dull gunmetal gray, and then you move into his like skeletonized claw hands. On the other side you have the same thing, but this hand has like a gripping hand, and you do have the ring molded out there, but it is all in black. So we will be seeing if we're going to add some little detail to the ring, add a little bit of accent, and some paint detail if we can. Pretty cool. Get him in a T-pose. Can't really lift his arms any higher than that because of the pauldrons. And even if you try and get his arms like the other way forward above his head, you can't do it. The most you could do is get under those pauldrons, and he does have like a two raised hand, kind of a Y pose there. Forgivable, pretty good range for what it is, for what the costume allows. That's not too bad. Moving down to the bottom at the trunks, like I said, you do have that Black Lantern stylized costume symbol. Pretty cool. A lot of texture and sculpt work into the body. let's check out the thigh swivel. He does have thigh swivel, but it's pretty tight. So this isn't, you're not getting as much range as usual, but there is some there. He can kick up really high, and he could kick back really high. This is allowed by the rubber in the trunks, and then you could go back and put it, it goes back to its original form. Cock out his leg. He does have that nice hip swivel. Double jointed knees. Straighten them out. You have up and down at the ankle, smooth with a lot of range. You have right to left, rocker, and toe articulation. Now before we go, let's take a look at the whole lower legs. Kind of like a boot cut with that same kind of dull gunmetal from the gauntlets. And then you, like I said before, you have a lot of little niche, textured lines and like sinewy little lines in here that is sculpted out really nicely. So I'll give them that. They put a lot of work into this actual sculpt. Pretty cool. Let's take a look at it from the bottom. No tread, but some identifying marks. Moving up the back. Like I said, there's a lot of detail in this sculpt work. You just gotta see it in there. Like little crevices and cracks and like sculpted out texture of this, you know, deceased body of Firestorm. Moving up the back, you have the same texture into the back, the shoulder pauldrons, and then the back of the flame hair. Now mine does have a problem, and that is that on the back there's these like white little paint marks, and it stops short of the other side, so I think it's missing some white paint, so I'll fix that up as well. All in all, pretty happy with this figure. I don't own a Deathstorm in my collection, not even the DC Direct ones, so this is pretty cool for me to have it in my DC Multiverse collection. But as always, I can kick it up another notch, and let's do some changes on this guy. So first of all, let's do it from top to bottom. We'll do the head. I extended the peg. I did this by drilling a hole and then adding a little piece of metal peg, and that way I could extend the peg using the same peg that comes with the figure. Now this gives him more range and it looks a lot better. Like I said, you could tell right away his head was sitting too low on his body. Now he looks up really well. Even looking down, he gets more range because since his chin doesn't hit his body so fast, when you put the head up higher, his chin could go even lower before it hits, you know, his actual like throat. So you get a lot of good range looking down, looking up. Just a whole lot more fun to play around with and pose. I also hit the head with some paint, added some blue little highlights, even into the translucent plastic hair. I added a little lines of blue, and then I went back with some metallic white and added some more, because I think this figure, what he was missing is that he's supposed to be like surging with energy, kind of a little bit, like, because it's fire in it, you know, originally in his head, but this is more like necro energy or Black Lantern energy. But the little touches of detail really do fill out the flaming hair sculpt, and it looks really good. So added blue tones like around his eyes and around the skull, and then I did fix that white part in the back where it was not filled in. So all in all, happy with that work. Then I did paint his gauntlets. I actually used a little bit brighter gunmetal, and you could kind of tell the difference. It's a little bit slight, but before it was really dull, and this gunmetal has more of a little shine, like kind of a, like I would have to say kind of like a little graphite texture, like where it has a little bit of sparkle in it. So I did the gauntlets on the arms, and I also did the ones on the feet. That came out pretty nice. Now, I also did a dusting of light gray on the sleeves that I was talking about before, where it has like wrinkles and folds. I dusted it with gray to separate, the rest of the black of the costume from these actual like sleeves. So now it just separates it to the eye and gives it a little bit more cool depth with that, dusting of gray on it. And that brings me to the ring. Now I did touch up the ring. It's just that since it's molded in black and the hand is black, you can't really see it. And when you add a little bit of accent, like here I added some silver, like high silver, and then right at the top of the ring I added some metallic white, and that just makes it pop. So you see it right away on his fist instead of like it just getting lost in the rest of the sculpt. So really love the way the ring came out. Now it shines right away on its own, and you could see it right away when you look at the hand. Pretty cool. And now for the whole body thing that I did that would separate this from the original release, and that is that where all these little nooks and crannies and little like cracks and stuff like that, not all of them, but a majority of them, I added some really, really like baby blue in there to like represent the energy. And this is something that I just felt like I wanted to do. Of course, eventually I'll probably pick up another one of these and just keep it in its original form. But part of the fun of reviewing these for you guys is, adding my own little touch. And you never know, it might end up being like my preferred figure instead of the regular release. So this is my like little custom one. But I did add all the little blue little marks from the bottom all the way to the top. So even in the back, up the back into the neck, even on the going up the chest around the symbol into the neck, I added all those little highlights. And I also went ahead and added some to the shoulder pauldrons because they're basically like the same texture as the body. So this could actually be more like reflective light coming from energy sources, but also it could be like his inner energy coming from the inside. But what I can tell you is that it looks really, really good. It looks a whole lot better. It looks more finished, or like a complete figure. And I was so happy with it. Really loved the way it came out. I even made him an extra little added accessory, which is like taken from the old Firestorm DC Classic figure. Now I did have extras of these. I think I had 4 of them. So to paint one didn't really bother me at all. But now it gives them that traditional Firestorm, like nuclear kind of shape as a little accessory for his wrist. And it actually fits perfectly on the wrist ball. So that's awesome. As you can see, I could like move it around and it's just fits perfectly on there. So it actually suits him well, fits good with him. And I did paint it like a silver. So all in all, really happy with that. But before we go, let's take a look at him next to some other figures. First of all, just where this actual character comes from, the old school Firestorm, which was one of my favorite characters. Now this is the DC Universe Classics original Ronnie Firestorm. Now I do have the Jason one, which is a different version, but this is like where this whole costume and image comes from. So that's pretty cool to have. And then let's just put him next to the other figure we've already looked at from this wave, and that is Kyle Rayner, Green Lantern. But all in all, I'm really happy with the little mods and little paint additions that I added. He looks really good now. In fact, I'm enjoying him more than I thought I would with these little added touches that I put to him. But he's a pretty awesome looking character. But as always, keep hunting out there, keep collecting, keep customizing, and I will see you on the next one.